Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Just Angling Podcast. We want to welcome you today. I got Chip Berry with me. Captain Chip, how are you today, my friend?
I'm bodacious, thank you.
You are always bodacious. I always look forward to that. And we have Scott Bradshaw with us, who is with Trident Funding. Now, tell us, Scott, welcome, by the way. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Trident Funding.
So I am the Carolinas Region Manager for Trident Funding. We primarily focus on marine lending, but we also handle RV and airplane lending.
Okay. Well, the reason why we go way back, years and years and years.
Absolutely.
And I think you and Chip go way back years and years and years too.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
so it's good to have you here. We really appreciate it. And what we looking for today is, with COVID being here, COVID-19 being here, being a factor in our lives so many ways, it seems to be a real positive factor when it comes to boat sales right now. And what's going on there is kind of the Wild West here, because I'm hearing all the dealers out there talk about how great things are in sales. I'm seeing people buying boats. I'm seeing people using boats. And I'm seeing used boats up for sale in big numbers. So tell us a little bit about what's going on and what that means to boaters and what they should know when it comes to buying a boat.
Well, I tell you, if you see a used boat right now, or even a new boat on a lot that you like and you think you want to buy it, you better jump. This has been just an absolutely unbelievable boat buying season. So just a little bit of background about me. I've been a boater since I was 13 years old, and I'll be 48 here in a couple of weeks. And Tim, you know me from retail business from before, and Chip, you as well. I went into mortgage lending years ago and decided I didn't really like real estate people all that much, and I had the opportunity to come here where I'd be in the boating world. So I've been a boater, love boaters. I fish as a part of a good company fishing team. We do White Marlin Open and the Big Rock, and a lot of king mackerel tournaments. And so I'm in this world. Boating people are my people, so it's just kind of a natural move for me. But what we have seen at the end of last year, boat sales were up because the economy was pretty good. And then COVID happened, and we were thinking we're going to see a season of just nothing. And for about 2 days, my phone didn't ring, and I went, well, this is where I'm going to be for the next few months. And then I don't know if people just realized they're not going to soccer games, they're not going to baseball games, they're not doing travel sports, they're not doing ice skating lessons and tennis lessons and all these things that they would normally be doing on the weekend, they're not doing. So those funds became available. And then people were saving up for vacations that they weren't going on. And, the average family is going to save somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 for a vacation every year. So now they have this down payment and they have all this free time. And what better way to get out of the house than to get out on the water? Where we live it's an amazing place. It's beautiful. The weather has been good. And we have seen somewhere a conservative estimate around a 400% increase in loan applications over the same time last year. It has just been an absolutely unbelievable push towards buying boats.
I think one of the things that you're missing too is we have dad at home with mama closed up in the house, and before, where mama really wasn't into boating and wasn't into dad buying a boat, she got real into it after about a month or so with dad being home in the house with her all the time. So this was a real good way, an alternative way for her to get him the hell out of the house and away from her.
But Tim, if you remember, I think I told you before, my dad passed away 9 weeks ago now, but we used to own a big hardware business. And when my dad sold that store, he went home and he wasn't really sure what he was going to do with himself. And he started asking mom, or telling mom, this is how you should clean the kitchen, and this is where you should put the pots and the pans. My mom said, look, after about 6 weeks of this, she said, "Look, I don't care where you go or what you do, but you've got to get out of my house." So I think you're very right.
I learned the lesson. I learned the lesson about maybe 20 years ago when I bought my first boat and enjoyed it for about a year, and then all of a sudden we had pretty substantial engine failure, and I told my wife, I said, "It's going to cost this much money," which was a lot of money, and I knew that wasn't going to go over very well. And she quickly said, with a smile, she said, "You need to go ahead and take that boat into the shop today and see how quick you can get it back."
Right.
Because she knew the quicker the boat got back, the quicker I got out. So yeah, so we kind of still live by that today. But yeah, you're right. I'm seeing things in fishing and boating right now that I never thought I would see. I know that even areas of where you are in Hampstead, there's tackle shops up there, Eastern Outfitters. They had the best day they've ever had in history 2 Saturdays ago. And we're hearing a lot of the others say the same thing. You walk in tackle shops, the guys are worn out from waiting on people. And it's really good to see that people are using boating and fishing as a means of escaping. I think that's very positive. So, but tell us a little bit more about, I'm thinking about buying a boat here in the not too distant future. Tell us what we need to know about getting that thing financed, how that financing is working today with COVID and all the other issues out there.
But Chip, you were in the brokerage business for some time, so I'll pick on my brokers a little bit. You can have some knowledge and share on this, but I actually created a website outside of Trident Funding's website called yourboatmoney.com. I get asked the same questions over and over and over again every day. My phone rings from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening. In fact, we were a little bit delayed today because I was on the phone with a customer for a while. But that site, yourboatmoney.com, there's a whole list of frequently asked questions. I'll go over some of those here, but the biggest thing that people ask me is, what are your rates? And that isn't the question that I can answer without asking a lot of questions. So we have 14 different banks that we write for across the country. We don't send you to 14 different banks. We determine which one fits what you're trying to do. Each one of our banks has a little niche that they like to fit in. So there are ranges of purchases and loans from $10,000 to $25,000, $25,001 to $50,000, $50,001 to $125,000, $125,000 to $250,000, and then $250,000 and up. And each one of those little segments has their own little nooks and crannies, if you will, little questions that we have to ask that determine what the rate is. If you're borrowing $100,000, your rate is going to be better than if you're borrowing $25,000. Well, it doesn't make any sense. It's very simple. It costs us the same amount of money to write a loan for $100,000 as it does to write a loan for $15,000. So the cost of writing that loan, it has to be spread out over a larger area in order to get that rate down. And the cost is me and the office and all the office equipment, all the fixed costs that are here, whether it's $15,000 or $100,000. So those under $25,000 loans are not going to see the 4.24% interest rates. They're just not there. Range, you on that website of mine, you can see, I try to keep it updated as the market changes, what the range of rates are on those certain purchase prices. When you see rates advertised at 3.99%, 4.11%, that is what I really don't like advertised rates for that reason. It's a kind of a unicorn rate. That's a $250,000 purchase with 30% down and a 800 or better credit score. So that 3.99 to 4.11 advertised, it does exist, but there's a lot of things you have to do to get there.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. That's a little, I don't know too many people that could even qualify for that, but.
There are several. I mean, I've written, I don't know, 15 this month that were in that low fours, that 4 1/8 range to 4 1/4 range. So there are a lot of them.
I didn't say there weren't a lot. I just said, I don't know any of them.
Well, Chip, you've been in that world, right? You've seen those kinds of boats and those kind of purchases.
Yeah. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just have a little thing up on my computer. It says my microphone appears to be noisy. I never
You're
seen
good.
that.
It must know you. How about that?
But as long as y'all hear me, one interesting thing, yeah, and you know, after my stint with the boating business many years ago, and I hope you see Jeff Boger occasionally.
I do.
Yeah, great guy. He's still, I guess, my oldest and dearest friend, really. But you know, I've been in real estate too, really, for the past 20 years. Now Tim's got me doing my math business full time. He won't leave me alone. But my wife's still in the real estate business, and she is slammed. I mean, we thought the same thing would happen with COVID that you didn't experience, which was we thought that everything was going to shut down again. And I mean, when something comes on the market, you better grab it. And you know, the interest rates are low. People are still, they won't go to the store because of COVID, but they'll go look at houses. So it's amazing.
Right. But Chip, if I can, you said something here that just clued me in. You said interest rates are low. I want people to understand one thing about what I do. We don't care what mortgage rates are, and we don't care what the interbank lending rates are that you see advertised.
I got you.
Recreational lenders lend based on what their risk tolerance is at the time. Just because mortgage rates are 2.99%, that follows the 10-year treasury. We don't follow the 10-year treasury. We follow, and this happened to us with the beginning of this COVID thing. We had around a 0.5% national average delinquency rate on boat payments. And within 6 weeks, we went to a 3% national average late pays. So we had a 300% increase in late payments, not Trident funding, but just the industry as a whole. At that same time that we had that 300% increase, we had a 400% increase in application volume. So the banks went, whoa, I don't know what's happening in the world, but our risk tolerance is not great for this. So some of our banks went 2 percentage points overnight. If we had a 4.5% rate with them, now we have a 6.5% rate with them. That's how they pumped the brakes. They didn't want to write any more loans. We had some banks before that were writing all the way down to a 660 credit score. Now they stop at 700. If you don't have a 700 credit score, they're not writing. Different banks had different tolerances, and how they dealt with those tolerances was just dependent on what kind of customer they wanted to end up with. So when you see, my friend got 4.24 at a local credit union for 7 years, the credit union can probably do that, but they're only going to go 7 years, where we'll go 15 and 20 years.
I do have one more question for you, Scott, while I'm here. Is it true? I mean, this is what I've heard, but I haven't really confirmed it. Are a lot of the manufacturers now, I guess, kind of slowed down due to COVID? Maybe a lot of their workers were actually home. Isn't there a hard time for some people buying a particular brand of new boat now because they're backed up in production? Is that fair to say? Like, I have a friend looking for a brand new Contender, and he can't get one right now. Particular model he wants anyway.
Well, the shutdown only affected most of the manufacturers for maybe a month. I know Sea Hunt was one in South Carolina that was closed for about a month, or on a skeleton crew. But it was a culmination of the fact that people couldn't go to work and build boats, and the increase in people wanting boats that have kind of not met yet. The production hasn't come back up to the demand. Gosh, I write a lot of Sea Hunt loans. A lot of people buy those boats, and all the dealerships that I deal with are just, we don't have any inventory on the floor. The boat comes in, we prep it, and it goes out the door. Contender, being in Florida, they were shut down for a while. But I'm glad you brought up Contender, if I can. Most of our banks write on NADA. Contender is not on NADA. Onslow Bay is not on NADA. A lot of manufacturers choose not to participate with NADA because they have to pay to be a part of that. So if you tell me that you want a contender, I can help you. I'm one of the few that can help you because we have banks that will use comparable sales and buck, where 65% of our banks, 70% of our banks will only use NADA. And if you're not listed on NADA, they're not going to write a loan for you. So we have some options that other banks, that other lenders do not have for those boats.
That's interesting. And let me ask you this question. And I know a lot of people probably don't even know the answer to this. I'm thinking about getting a $30,000 boat. What's the benefit to come to Scott Bradshaw at Trident versus going to my local bank or going to the financing within that dealership?
So there's nothing wrong with dealership financing. A lot of times dealerships will have special floor plan pricing on from whoever their lender is that has the boat while they're there. Before COVID, you were even able to do 0% down with a couple of lenders, especially in-house lenders. I don't know anyone that's writing a 0% down loan right now. USDA stopped. They won't even write a loan over $35,000 now at all. The benefit to me over a normal bank is most of the time you walk into one of our local banks here and ask them about a boat loan, they don't know the difference in an outboard and an out drive. They don't know anything about boats. They don't know anything about boat buying. They don't understand the chain of custody. They don't understand that South Carolina doesn't title trailers and North Carolina does title trailers. If you're buying a boat from South Carolina and bring it to North Carolina, then we have to have signed bills of sale, notarized documents, because North Carolina is going to create a title. I love my local bankers. They don't understand boat financing. They do not get the moving parts in this, and there are so many moving parts that will hold you up. That's where I come in. That's what I do.
Okay.
They do a good job of it. I know that.
I appreciate that. I have less hair now than I used to have just from. Tim's taking off his hat. We're seeing that shiny.
Well, yeah, look over next to you though, over there.
I was just gonna say, and I need a haircut.
And you're only 42, right, Chip?
Yeah, you're right.
Did you hear what he said? I need a haircut.
Yes,
I need my hair cut. I need a haircut.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Tim, you bring up something else. I mentioned down payments. I said some banks will do 0, used to. That's probably the second most question that I'm asked besides interest rate is what are the down payments? And some of our lenders will write 10% down. Some will write 15% down. Some will write 20% down. But what you need to remember is banks are going to lend on the wholesale value of the boat, except for I do have one bank that will lend on NADA retail less than percentage. Banks are going to loan on NADA wholesale. So just because you found a boat that you love that's $50,000 doesn't mean that the boat is worth $50,000. I'm fighting that battle with Sea Hunts right now. Sea Hunts are sold private party way more than they're sold dealerships when they're used. Private parties don't report to NADA. So a boat, let's take a 25-foot Sea Hunt game fish, exceptionally popular in the King Mackerel circuit, and mom and dads who want to get into it, take the kids out fishing. It's an affordable boat. The used Sea Hunt game fish, let's say 2016 with a pair of 150s on it that sells for $80,000. Right now, the NADA wholesale on that boat is $38,000. And you're going, oh, there's $42,000 in their difference. When we have this kind of compression and NADA has not caught up with what boats are selling for, if that's a boat you really want, I am limited in the banks that I can go to by banks that are taking comparable sales or banks that will take NADA retail. So if the best bank in the world is offering a 4.24% rate at 20% down, but they're only using NADA wholesale, I can't go there with a Sea Hunt game fish that's $42,000 spread between retail and wholesale right now. So I can't get you 4.24. I might be able to get you 5.24. That I have to coach people in that all the time. Is that just because you're paying $80,000 for it doesn't mean it's worth that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let me ask you one more question before we go today, and thank you so much for all this great information. if I'm a boat owner and I'm looking at that 25 foot sea hunt, and I found the boat that I want and I'm ready to buy, and I'm getting ready to come to you to look for financing, what do I need to do to prepare for that conversation?
I'll go back to yourboatmoney.com. There is a tab there that says what I need, and it lays out everything that I need from you and from the seller in order to make that transaction happen in a step-by-step process. I need an application. I need a driver's license. I need a purchase agreement signed between you and the person you're buying the boat from. And over in the download section, there is a blank purchase agreement that you can use for that. And then you'll need insurance, and we'll talk about the down payment. The down payment actually goes to the seller. It doesn't come to us, but all of that is laid out. Turn times, people want to know, why can't I have my money today? We are a dry funding organization. We loan our money. We will give you the money, the seller the money, when we have all of your documents as the buyer and all of their documents as the seller, and we can verify that the seller is the person who actually owns the boat. And you'll see that in my what I need section. Once we have all those documents, and we wire the funds to the seller, and it's your boat. But that happens in 3 to 7 days, depending on whether it needs a survey and depending on how quickly you get me the documents that I need.
Okay. Hey, that's a lot of great information. I know I've bought enough boats in my time to float half the county here, but and I knew that things have changed over the years, and it's always good to know that going in, because those of you that have started the boat buying process, many times you just kind of walk in and say, hey, I need a loan, and they get kind of turned away, or I won't say turned away, they get a little frustrated with what you have to do in order to get that better loan, the one that's going to be more effective for you and better for you. Like
Tim,
you say, all the paperwork.
If I could just say, there's one more thing I wanted to hit on. People ask me a lot, can I pay cash for the boat and then get a loan after I buy it? And the answer is maybe. There are some of our banks that allow what's called a recapture process, where you can go write a check for the boat, buy the boat, take it home. You have all the same paperwork. You have a bill of sale that's signed and notarized and all that. And then we can write a loan post-closing, if you will, after you have purchased the boat, and put that money back in your pocket. Just remember that it has to value. So if you paid $80,000 for it and the wholesale value is only $40,000, and I'm limited on number of banks that will write a recapture loan, and I come back and say I can only loan you $40,000, that's a real thing. So, but it is something that happens. We can write recapture loans to put your cash back in your pocket.
Sounds great. Scott, again, thank you for all this great information today. And those of you that are listening, you're considering buying a boat, you're ready to pull the trigger, give Scott a call. Try to call him right when you hear this, because he's not busy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he likes calls like late at night, 10 o'clock at night. He really appreciates those.
Let the boys sleep.
Hey, look, I write all over the country. I write in Texas. I write in California. I write in Louisiana. My guys in Texas call me and they forget that they're behind on time. So
there you go.
Tim, I do have one more question for Scott. I'd just like to ask.
Okay.
Since I've been out of that kind of business for a long time, are you writing a lot of financing for buyer to seller transactions yourself, or is a lot of it coming from people like, let's say, Jeff Ogre, a broker? What are most of your clients? I mean, are you doing the whole spectrum across there?
A majority of my clients are peer-to-peer, because I live in that Facebook world where the Facebook groups are the Sea Hunt group, the Contenders group, the Boat Owners United groups. I do a lot of peer-to-peer. Those are the waters that I fish in. Our company as a whole supports both sides of that, but they support the brokers maybe more than I do. There's nothing wrong with brokers. I like brokers because they typically have all the paperwork ready to go and can hand me a file. But
Right.
My people are the people who are fishermen. My people are the ones who are getting their boat to go offshore, and I like to build relationships and have conversations with them. If you find me on the whole truth, or you find me on Facebook in any of those owners groups, you're going to hear people asking questions all the time. They're tagging me because they want me to answer those questions for them. So
Yeah.
both. Working with a broker is definitely easier on me 90% of the time because they have the paperwork together that they need. I don't have to chase titles and chase registrations and make sure that Chip, your name is on it. Tim, I know it's time to go, but I got to do this.
No, you're good.
If you buy a boat from an individual and don't put the title to the trailer in your name, and then you go to sell that boat to someone else, or if you're on the buying side of this thing and the trailer registration doesn't match the name of the person that you're buying it from, be prepared for a long, drawn-out process. I don't care if you only move your boat half a mile to the boat ramp 2 times a year when you're pulling. I don't care. When you go to sell that boat, you don't own it. And if you don't own it, you can't sell it. So please, for the love of God, go get your trailers registered and titled in your name. And that's all I want to say about that.
Good advice. Good advice.
Sounds like a little frustration coming out there. But
It delays.
I can imagine it is.
It delays selling the boat because now you have to go chase down a title that you don't know where it is. It's been in the envelope somewhere for 15 years and you have no clue where it is. Now you have to go to DMV if you happen to live in a state that titles like North Carolina, because not all states title trailers. Now you have to go find or go to the DMV and get a lost title receipt. Don't yell at me
on a $500 rusty trailer.
Yeah, and don't yell at. A lot of times we only put the trailers in the deal to get the value up where it needs to be. So,
all right, good advice there, man. More good advice, guys. And you know what? I'm sure we haven't covered nearly all the questions that many people have out there. Give Scott a call. Be patient because he probably already is on the other line when you call, but certainly give him a call. But we appreciate you joining us today. Chip, thanks for joining us. You're always a great sidekick here to have around because you've actually been in that business as well. And which is, I'm usually on the paying end of the business. You've been on the receiving end. So thanks for your good questions. So thanks to everybody for joining us today on Just Hang.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Nice seeing you again too, brother.
You too, Chip.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Tim.